Alright guys, our next guest is one of the most underrated analysts in MMA today. You know him from his excellent work on Severe MMA and Sherdog.com, and he's here today to help us preview this weekend's fight between Stephen Thompson and Geoff Neal, among other things. A true Irish national treasure. Look at this Christmas sweater. It's Sean Sheehan. Welcome back at long last to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
It's been a while, isn't it? I put out the emoji spoilers kind of this morning, saying Australia coming back soon. So the people wanted it, so they have to do it. And plus, Wonderboy fighting this weekend, perfect timing, absolutely. I think I was on like last Christmas as well. I remember asking you like, it must be weird to have Christmas and like it's warm outside. Like I'm wearing a Christmas jumper here now. Like Christmas jumpers are a thing around here. Like you can't wear Christmas jumpers, can you? Because it must be just roasting warm all the time.
I'm wearing the
Like,
same cardigan I've been wearing for the last 1,000 years, but that's a bit of an anomaly. It's been like 30-something degrees Celsius the last few days. It's fucking hot.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Listen, it's hot outside, but it's cold inside our hearts, Sean. So it definitely still feels like Christmas. Also, yeah, appreciate you putting out the Red Band trailer onto Twitter. A lot of people trying to guess what was going on. Many people thinking you were moving to Australia. So hate to disappoint everybody, but no, it was just the fact that he's going to be on this Christmas edition of Submission Radio. And before we talk about this Wonderboy and Geoff Neal fight, man, got to talk about Yoel Romero going to Bellator. A bit of an interesting situation here. UFC lets him go. They're on this big cutting thing at the moment. And Bellator is looking like it's picking him up, according to his interview with Ariel Helwani. What do you think about this deal, though? Who do you think benefits from it most? Yoel Romero or Bellator?
I think it's kind of one that benefits. I think it benefits Bellator more than Yoel Romero, but I think it benefits the UFC as well, because I think look, Yoel Romero is a great fighter, and sometimes we forget how exciting he can be at times, but he can also be like pretty boring. Look at the first round against Adesanya, the whole fight against Adesanya, just unbelievably boring, you know. But you know, if you're Yoel and if you're the UFC and you look at him, you're like, right, he's probably going to beat a lot of the exciting up-and-comers at middleweight. And some of them fights might be really exciting, but some of them fights might be boring as well. And if he gets into a big fight, that might be boring as well. Our people won't buy it because they'll remember the last boring fight they did buy. So he's, what is he, fucking 78 years of age. They're like, how long can he keep going the way he is? So for the UFC, even though he's still a very good fighter, even though he's still one of the very best, like, I think it's probably a wise decision on their part. Now for Bellator, he can beat a lot of those guys. He can go up to 205. He can have some fun fights. They have some names at 205. You know, I really think they should do a cruiserweight division. It makes so much sense because they have a lot of good guys. I know he comes up from 185, but he could fight at like 215 or 220 or whatever it might be. But they have a lot of guys who are borderline heavyweight, borderline light heavyweight. You know, the likes of Bader, Nimkov. I know Rampage is gone now, but guys like that who can fight around that way, and they could do it. Yeah, Rumble, exactly. Like they could do that, and they could make. We have the best cruiserweight in the world. They're saying at the moment they have the best 205. Well, if they'd put in the cruiserweight division, then they would. But however, for Yoel, I think, right, how much money is he getting out of this? Will he be getting paid as well with Bellator as he is with the UFC? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe commensurate. It might be around the same. Will he get tougher or easier matchups? It depends. Like if they put him in there against Mousasi, that's a pretty tough matchup, and another fight that could be really, really boring, like has the makings of a really boring fight. It could be great as well. You wouldn't know. So, look for Bellator. If they like someone like him, right? I think you matchmake Yoel a little bit like you'd matchmake Nick Diaz a bit. Now, in a Nick Diaz when he was around the GSP fight time, you put him in against someone who's not going to wrestle him, you know, for Nick Diaz, and you put him in against in an exciting fight. I think for Yoel Romero, you put him in an exciting fight. You know, you put him in there against someone who will go in there and will go all out and try to attack him, and he'll be able to counter him with big flying knees. Don't put him in there like against a tactical fighter, you know, someone like a Mousasi. Don't put him in there with that yet. You know, make a fight that you get Yoel Romero into Bellator, and you have exciting fights. The first fight is exciting, second fight is exciting. Okay, if you want to put him in there against better competition and maybe a more boring fight, fair enough. But like they did it with Sergio Pettis, they put him in there against at least one guy anyway who he went down in and he finished, and he looked great. And remember, you know, everyone remembered again how good Sergio Pettis is and how exciting he is. So Bellator have been known to do that. So if they can make it right that way, have a really exciting fight, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now on the Rumble fight itself, I don't like that fight straight away, even though that could satisfy that.
Hot take.
Like Rumble hasn't fought that much. Like, when was the last time Rumble fought? Probably 3 years ago. If I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet. But like,
I remember you were on. We were talking about it, and
there.
you said he shit the bed against Daniel Cormier. Been laughing ever since.
Well, he did. Yeah. He did.
Sean digging his heels in.
What else can you say? He did twice. Did he fight DC twice?
He did twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a weird fight.
Give Rumble a chance. Rumble's another guy you need to, I think, matchmake well. Give him like someone like fucking Jake Hager fight. Not that bad now, but you know, around that level. Give him a few fights to get back into it, and then maybe make that fight. But I don't think there's any need to rush it. I think they need to do a little bit of boxing promotion on this now. Like, let's get Joshua and let's get Tyson Fury, and then in like 18 months' time, we'll have the two of them fight. So I think we can do that with those, especially Rumble. Now, Yoel, I give him a bit of a harder fight straight away, but an exciting harder fight. For Rumble, I'd give him at least 1, maybe 2 fights against a guy who might be like, 10-5 or something like that, or a Ryan Nelson, or someone like that at heavyweight. That's what I do with those two guys.
Yeah, it's fascinating because we're at this point now where the UFC is making all these cuts, and also people are going over to Bellator, but these are, pretty quality talents. Like Yoel Romero, you mentioned before, he was in a weird spot in the UFC, but then he could have possibly gone up to 205, something we haven't seen him do yet. Probably could have fought some of the guys up there. UFC's 205 division is pretty barren at the moment. And Anthony Rumble Johnson, he was the guy that people were saying, hey, if Israel becomes a champ at 205 or something like that, you need somebody to throw at him. Maybe he's the guy to sort of spice up the division. Those guys are gone. Anderson Silva's gone. I'm just wondering, what are you expecting from these cuts? Do you think people will be surprised by some of these guys that are going to be let go? Like, do you think it's going to be people like Junior Dos Santos and the like, that have sort of been losing for a while? Maybe people like Shogun who, maybe don't have that much left to offer to the company. Or do you think people will be genuinely surprised by some of these people that are going to be let go, who still have some go in the tank and could still provide some, interesting, entertaining fights and sell some of these fight night cards that, people aren't that interested in on a weekly basis?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one because, like, what we're talking about, all the guys you named there are, well, maybe not all of them, but most of them are kind of gatekeepers to the very top right now. Like, you look at JDS. If you beat him, you're right into like fighting to the top 5. You might be fighting Blades or Derek Lewis, whoever might be there. If you beat Jacare, you're right into middleweight top 5. You're beating you're fighting that sort of guy. Like Anthony Pettis is fighting this weekend. Let's say you beat him, you're right into the lightweight top 10 or 5, and maybe he could get caught. Or same, like look at Cerrone, or further down the divisions, like you look at someone like a Rafael Asson. So, and all of those guys, they're a yardstick for the very top. And that's important. It's important that you get over that sort of guy and get that sort of win to kind of take you to the next level. Case in point, this last weekend. Look at Charles Oliveira. Everyone knew Charles Oliveira was very good. Everyone knew he was on a great run. But did we think he was like because everyone, I'm sure you did, I did it on my podcast, we talked about the 6 guys who could fight for the UFC lightweight title after Khabib went. McGregor, Poirier, Ferguson, Gaethje, Michael Chandler, and who's the other one? I'm missing one. Anyway, those guys, and everyone like left Charles Oliveira behind them. Everyone kind of left him, and are like, he got that win over Tony Ferguson, who was one of those guys, and it put him into the next level. Look at say Nathaniel Wood coming through. He fought against John Dodson, who got caught in his. I don't know if he's gone to Bellator. He's gone somewhere anyway. He didn't beat him, so he kind of goes back a little bit. But if he did beat him, you're into the top 15. So there is that yardstick in the division. Look at Kevin Holland this last weekend. He beat Jacare, and what does he do? He moves on. Looking at the rankings here, like who's the next? Like there's tough guys. Look, say Marlon Vera at 135. Is he going to be that for them? Like maybe he will be. Like it's difficult to look through these divisions and see. Like, is Max Holloway going to be that at 145? Like he's fighting Calvin Kattar coming up. Like,
God, could you imagine?
There's always going to be yeah, I know, but that's the thing about it, because the production line at the moment is producing maybe a lot of the younger guys, and then the guys who are like just champions are kind of still around. I think it was Nick Baldwin put it out. No champion lost their belt this year. None. Not any female or male champion. John Jones gave it up. Henry Cejudo gave his 2 up, but none of them lost it. Like, and that's an interesting thing, because like there's a lot of movement kind of around the divisions, but at the top of the division, to like set yourself apart, you need that top kind of 3 to 10 to kind of get over, to prove you're the next guy, and to not just prove you're the next guy, but to build yourself up as the next guy. And if they're gone, and they're kind of replaced with the next level, let's say like instead of a Pettis or a Cerrone, you have like an Anthony Hernandez or someone like that, or you know, whoever it might be. Is that as good a win, as big a win, as proving as a win as the other two? I don't think it is. So it's interesting. There's a very like sometimes those guys are kind of gone past their prime and they're they no longer serve that function. But I think they have an important function. I think for the UFC, it's a risky business if you're cutting all of them. Now I don't think they will cut all of them, but I'd still be keeping some of them around just to kind of put the other guys over, if you want to talk in wrestling parlance. So it's interesting to see what they do over with these 60 cuts.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like if you say Yoel Romero and Anthony Johnson to me, I'm going, hey, you know, I want to see these guys fight in the UFC. I want to see some of these matchups. If you say Junior Dos Santos to me or something, or maybe like a Shogun, I go, that's fair enough. Or, you know, if maybe like Teixeira ends up losing a few fights in a row, a guy like him who's been there for a long time. But you just rattled off, for example, Cerrone, Pettis, you know, all these guys like Tony Ferguson. And to me, that sounds like a really good UFC card the fans would really care about. And I think, you know, it's interesting because you look at the thing from the perspective of how much is it about a fighter being good, or how much is it about your personal journey with a fighter? Like if you look at it from the entertainment perspective and you look at it even from a pro wrestling perspective, you know, all these guys like Goldberg, Triple H, all these guys, whoever it is, Undertaker, these are the guys that fans grew up with. These are the guys that fans kind of watch the whole time. And these are the guys that want to tune in and see what they're doing. And to a level, it's so rare to do that with MMA. But if you got like a guy like Anthony Pettis or a Cerrone, wouldn't you just, and of course, this is also based on the fact that the contracts, they want to get those cheaper contracts.
Of course.
And they don't want to pay these guys that money. But if you're the UFC, wouldn't you almost be like, hey, let's pay a little bit more here to still keep the interest in this card and keep this guy around because the fans are so invested to him, rather than let them just go off into the distance and, you know, go over to a Bellator where people maybe don't care. Okay, well, Anthony Pettis, he's not the champion anymore. People don't care about that. People want to see him do a jumping kick off a fence or something. Or Cerrone, they want to see him drink beer and ride his motorcycles and not care about fights. Or Tony Ferguson doing weird rolls around the stage. You know what I mean? And how much is that what people tune in for, though?
Well,
you know
I think the last
100%.
3 Tony Ferguson fights has, in a way, been him saving the card. Like, UFC 256 needed star power, who's a fun guy to get on, who people actually care about, Tony Ferguson. That was the people's main event. And I think the last 2 fights as well, obviously, you know, with the Gaethje last-minute sort of fill-in. But then the previous fight, who was it that he fought? That was another one. Was it Pettis? My memory's going hazy, but it was another one where they're like, we need something on this card. Let's throw him on there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I think the thing about it as well, I agree with everything you said there, and like they need excitement. Like even Diego Sanchez, I love watching Diego Sanchez fight. Even he's probably past his prime and everything like that, but I love it. But I think there's one very interesting thing. You know, you mentioned about obviously there's a lot of talk about the Contender series people coming in right now, and I thought it was very funny. A couple of things Dana White said. First of all, and there's these 3 things I'll bring together. First of all, he said about the 125-pound division, right? And he said about rebuilding it, and Mick Maynard did a great job of rebuilding it, right? And then he said, we don't do things like Bellator. And then he also said, we want to bring the best young guys through in the sport. That's what we do. You know, where once a guy has reached the top and he can't reach the top anymore, we want rid of him. That's kind of what Bellator have been doing over the last few years. Like Bellator have signed all these young guys straight out of college, and Pico on contracts. If you look at the UK and Ireland, they've basically signed SBG gym. They've signed everyone out of there. James Gallagher, Kiefer Crosby, everyone out of that gym. They have tried to sign all the best young talent in the world. And now what are the UFC doing? The UFC are getting in there before them, getting them on the Contender series, getting them on low money into the UFC and keeping them signed that way. Whereas Bellator were giving these guys in the UK and Ireland especially, they're on great money with Bellator. You know, they're making fantastic money. They're not going to Cage Warriors and not getting towards the UFC that way, and they're earning enough money with Bellator. Now, let's see if it can keep going with this. The zone deal is supposed to be going out the window, but I think it's a very interesting play what the UFC are doing, because it seems like the UFC
going from the perspective of, hey, like we want to build a younger division, but really you want to pay less money to these guys by pretending like, oh no, it's not because of that. It's like, come on, you know, what are we really doing here? Like, let's be honest a little bit. What's the real motivator?
They can do that though. They've just found another way. Like Tough, they used to do it, and they used to bring in like let's say 3 guys a season who would be there for years and years, and then maybe 1 or 2 more might emerge from the season as well. Now they're bringing in 5 people a week from the Contender series, and they were doing Tough twice a year, or one, maybe twice every 2 years or something like that. Now they're doing it. How many episodes of Dana White Contender series are on a year? Like 20 or something like that?
Yeah, but and you don't win a tough contract if you. I mean, you're supposed to get like a 6-figure contract if you win that show on the Contender series. You don't win anything.
Yeah,
nothing at all. Nothing at all. Yeah, so they're bringing
That's
in.
a lot of money.
They're trying. Yeah, they're trying to get the best young fighters in for really, really low money and replace the older, better fighters who are on a lot of money with these younger guys. So it's like for the UFC, I suppose it's smart in the long run, but I suppose in the short term, how is it going to work? If you can combine it well and do it well with both of them and keep putting guys over with those older guys, and by the time, so one guy goes up and then he comes a little bit back down, and then the other guy's coming up and kind of passing down, he goes out, and then the other guy comes up and comes back down. You need to keep that circle kind of flowing for the UFC with their talent. But it's interesting because I think before it was easier to create stars that people locked onto. Now we don't see it that often. Like I know we talk about maybe this weekend, Miguel Pereira. He's kind of one of them. People have kind of locked onto him because he's funny and kind of he's an odd guy and he's a weird way of fighting and things like that. But before we had so many of them that people were like rabid fans of, and I think maybe now. You might have Adesanya with the New Zealand guys or McGregor with the Irish guys, and certain parts of Boston, I think, is a cater from Boston and things like that. But it's interesting to see if they can do that and if guys will earn names like Cowboy and Pettis over the next few years in a similar sort of way, and will be able to have their names mean something when someone beats them. So I think it's interesting to see if that works out.
I think that's the key. I think also the fact that there's an oversaturation of the sport these days. There's so many fights on that people are just picking and choosing what they tune into, and a lot of them they're not going to tune into. And if a lot of those up-and-coming guys are on those cards that are missed, then they're not really going to be... they may find it hard to sort of break through. Although Geoff Neal, who we're going to talk about in a sec, is not one of them. He's got a pivotal fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Before we talk about that, just want to talk about the legendary Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera this weekend, which, we saw Lars Vera, who completely derailed Sean O'Malley in the first round. And aside from the fact that this looks to be obviously a fun stylistic matchup, it seems like kind of what we're talking about, where the UFC are very much teeing up the aging but still somewhat rejuvenated Jose Aldo for Vera to essentially beat. And, Aldo hasn't won yet at bantamweight. His last loss against Petr Yan was pretty tough to watch. What are you expecting from this one? Do you think this is a case of young eating old? And, or do you think Jose Aldo can somehow turn back the clock and fend off a dangerous Marlon Vera?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Aldo won, to be honest. I think the 3 rounds really suits Aldo. Because if you look at the fight against Yan even, he was doing pretty well, for those first 3 rounds. I remember, or even in the last week or so, I've been going back over the nominations for like Fight of the Year, and I was talking to a couple of people about it, and that kind of kept their list. Grabaka Hitman being one, the legend, and he kind of had that in the list. And I went back and I was watching a bit of it because obviously this fight's coming up as well. And I was like, he did do pretty well. Like, that was a pretty good fight for a while there. So I think 3 rounds. I like, if you remember Aldo, like years and years and years ago, or even look back at his record, maybe a lot of people weren't watching it. He came in, double flying knee and fucking Cub Swanson and things like that before he got to the UFC. So I think the 3 rounds will help him. Now, the thing about Vera is he fights if you were to look at it, I watched a couple of his fights last night, Chito Vera's fights, and if you watch him coming out, like the bell sounds and he comes out, and he looks a bit like Jose Aldo in terms of like his stance. He stands in like a Muay Thai stance and he throws his shots. But then the second he starts kind of moving from that, he gets very different. He switches stances all the time. He throws more kind of leaping punches. He'll kind of switch and throw leg kicks in a different sort of way than an Aldo or a normal Muay Thai guy will. And we know over the last few years, we've seen it against, obviously, McGregor in quick order, and we've seen it against Volkanovski and Yan and different people. It's when you kind of change up things like that and meet Aldo in the middle and hit him with harder shots than he can hit you with and be a little bit faster than him. That's the area Aldo gets stuck in. Now, if Aldo can be a little bit more defensive and a little bit more elusive, which he was, I think, early a little bit against Yan, I'd give him a great chance. I would probably pick Vera because I just think like, I just feel like maybe a few elbows in through the middle or a few big shots when they meet in the middle. Like the thing about Vera is he will keep throwing. No matter what you do to him, he will keep throwing. And, you know, you look at someone like Aldo and you think every time Aldo fights, people are saying, oh, what about the leg kicks? Is he going to bring back the leg kicks? Is he going to do the leg kicks again? I think he did them in one fight recently, but he just doesn't do them that much anymore. And I think in this fight, and I'll say it again, I probably said it for every fight, but if he can throw a few leg kicks or a few body kicks even in this fight against Vera, I think it could help. But I think it's going to be a really exciting fight because like Vera wants someone to meet him in the middle, and Aldo will meet you in the middle if you give him that opportunity. And this is, I think it's going to be a really good fight, honestly, as long as it lasts. It could be over in quick order, but yeah, I think it'll be a really fun fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really interesting fight, and also who knows what's gonna happen to Aldo if he loses here. So maybe his coach is in the third round going, "You're fighting for your job here, Aldo. Get out there and land those leg kicks." It'll be an interesting one. Let's look at the main event, man. Let's talk about Geoff Neal because he's currently riding a 7-fight win streak. His last loss actually came against Kevin Holland all the way back in 2017. And he destroyed Mike Perry almost 1 year ago. We know that Stephen Thompson is a longtime member of Team Sheehan, but this fight will answer a lot of questions. As a prospect, are you sold on Geoff so far? And is this the right fight for him to have right now?
Yeah, it's probably the right fight for Geoff Neal. It's a great fight for Geoff Neal in terms of, like I was talking earlier on about, if you can beat this guy, it means something. You know, I know a lot of people, maybe I'm a bit biased because I have a soft spot for Wonderboy, but I don't think you can doubt that Wonderboy is one of the best welterweights in the world. Like if you take away the Anthony Pettis knockout, which was kind of a flash knockout at the end of a round, like Wonderboy has been right up there fighting some of the best in the world, beating most of the best in the world. Look at the Darren Till fight, a close decision and stuff. So beating Wonderboy means something. And if you're Neal and you beat Wonderboy, it means something. Like I always said about Leon Edwards as well. When the Wonderboy fight came up and he was like, why would I fight you? I was like, if you beat Wonderboy, you're like the number 2 welterweight in the world, you know? You're right up there as one of the best welterweights in the world. People talking about Masvidal. Did we forget like 2 years ago, Wonderboy schooled Masvidal? Did everyone just forget that? Absolutely schooled him, schooled Vicente Luque. You know, he's still a great fighter. And if Geoff Neal can beat him, it means a lot. It's a huge fight for Geoff Neal. For Wonderboy, I don't know. It just feels like people have kind of forgotten about him and forgotten kind of how good he is. Maybe it's because like Wonderboy kind of ruins careers because I watched a few Geoff Neal fights last night. I took down some notes and I was like, oh, he's a very good southpaw, holds high hands, maybe could attack his body. He bites his time, he hits a lot, he circles a lot. He's a lovely straight left, hits with power. But does any of that matter when you fight Wonderboy? Like, is he going to be able to do any of that? Like, is he going to be able to come in and throw his straight left the way he throws it all the time in other fights? Probably not. Is he going to be able to circle out? Yeah, but like, what difference is that going to make against Wonderboy? Like, Tyron Woodley had to change his whole, the whole way he fought to fight Wonderboy and beat him twice. Well, he obviously drew once. He was never able to change back, and it kind of ruined his career. You know, Wonderboy does that because you have to change up everything. So it's one of those fights where it's a tough fight for Neal, and it's a tough fight for Wonderboy as well because it's this up and coming guy. He's strong and he's hard. He hits hard and everything like that. But it's one of those fights where is Wonderboy in his career right now? Like his last few fights, there hasn't been that much, I think, of a degradation in his game. He's still been really good. Okay, the results mightn't be as good over the last while. He hasn't fought that much over the last while either. But if it's the same Wonderboy as we've seen all the time throughout the years, he's going to be hard to hit. He's going to be hard to beat. He's going to be hard. You know, it's going to be hard everywhere. Now, Neal might outpoint him. He might outpoint Neal. But over 5 rounds as well against Wonderboy, it gives you more of a chance to, I suppose, catch him. But it also gives you more of a chance to kind of get the runaround for 5 rounds as well. So I think it's an interesting fight. I always love Wonderboy fighting. And I like watching Geoff Neal fights last night. He's an animal as well. So the most interesting thing to me is someone who, more than anything, loves like watching 2 guys fighting and then see how they'll fight each other, see what, A plus B equals on fight night, and to see what Geoff Neal does to counteract Wonderboy, I think is an interesting thing because it's very rare you see someone, and then this never really happened apart from maybe Matt Brown back in the day, where someone has got a game plan that actually brings out their positive aspects. Like, okay, Pettis did it, but it was one strike. Wonderboy was chewing him up. Other than that,
Yeah.
no one else has really been able to do it. Can Geoff Neal do that? And if he does that, I'll be unbelievably impressed, and I think he'll be right up there with the best welterweights in the world if he can do that against Wonderboy.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: Geoff almost died back in August. I'm laughing, but it was crazy. He went to emergency room and he was septic by the time he got there. The nurses didn't know if he was going to make it. It was an infection, and he ended up having congestive heart failure. All of this is crazy. Imagine, and that's just 4 months ago. But it sort of leads to the more important question of being 4 months removed from almost dying. Even if he has the technical skills or the game plan, do you think he'll even be physically ready to, maybe give his best showing against a really, really, really tough guy in the division?
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. To
there
be honest,
go.
that's still how much I'm fucking paying attention now. Yeah, it's a year since he fought as well. Almost to the day. So yeah, against I don't know, how much time has he had to recover? How much time has he been in training camp? It's funny because I said the same sort of thing last week about Kevin Holland going in there against Jacare. Like Jacare, in the past has been one of the toughest guys to game plan for, or to not game plan for, but prepare for. We heard guys bringing in jiu-jitsu world champions for months beforehand to prepare for his jiu-jitsu, and then Kevin Holland goes in there on 2 weeks' notice after having the coronavirus and destroys him. So I don't know.
And the way that he did it as well, it might be one of the craziest finishes, or definitely one of the craziest finishes of the year.
He basically beat Jacare on the ground. He didn't submit him, but he beat him on the ground.
I don't know how you knock someone out like that. I've never seen anything like this.
He was happy to be on the ground with him as well. So it's interesting one. Like I think if he can kind of beat Wonderboy. Both of them love to kind of circle around the cage, but if he can kind of beat Wonderboy circle, and that's impossible to do because no one does it, because Wonderboy's foot movement is so good, he can go either way, unlike anyone we've kind of seen in MMA before, I think. But if he can kind of beat that circular movement and land that straight left, and if Wonderboy has slowed down a bit, because he's getting on in age as well. Like what's Wonderboy? I don't have it up for me. I'm looking at
37 or something.
Yeah, and you that quick footwork is not going to last forever. So it might be, I hope it's not, but it might be Wonderboy's time. But yeah, it's an interest. It's one of these fights that I find hard to call, just because I think if it's prime Wonderboy against Geoff Neal right now, I think Wonderboy wins. I think he leaves too many openings. One thing I'll definitely watch out for in this fight is Wonderboy kicking the body, because Neal has a very much he's a very boxing orientated stance, especially when he fights at range. And I think his hands are just a little bit too high to fight against someone like Wonderboy. And if he can kick the body, if he can hurt the body a little bit, that will open up the head, and you could see a head kick coming here. But it's an interesting fight, and that's actually a pointless thing I just said, because Geoff Neal will change his game, because you have to change your game to fight Wonderboy. So I don't know what we're going to see on Saturday. That was a terrible preview by me. Nobody knows.
He did a great job.
Nobody knows what we'll see.
Now, a lot of questions. And by the way, Wonderboy with the elite YouTube channel. His YouTube channel. He's got so many great videos, and you can actually see his camp leading into this fight. And, man, he looks quick and he looks good. So I wonder what we're going to see from him. I'm also curious to know from you, Sean, when it comes to Wonderboy, what do you think is on the line here if he does win? Because he's kind of in a funny position. I mean, there is a massive key for the next title shot. You got Gilbert Burns, Colby, Leon, Khamzat, Masvidal maybe even trying to get back in there. But also, him versus Kamaru Usman, let's say even if he was next, that's not really a fun fight anyway. I mean, you'd think Usman would probably just try and wrestle him for most of the fight and likely beat him. So what do you do with him next? And especially at this point in his career where you can't really have him sitting around for another year or two and come back when he's like 39 and 40 to fight another Geoff Neal. You got to act quick with a guy like this and sort of maximize his potential. What would you do next with him, knowing everything that's sort of happening in the division?
The thing about it is, though, like you said there, Usman to wrestle him. Like, who has wrestled Wonderboy in the last while? Like, nobody has done it. No one at all. Like, Woodley was able to do it for bits and pieces, and it's usually after a knockdown he's been able to do it, but not since Matt Brown. Nobody's been able to do it. So,
you're thinking this is a good matchup, perhaps, the Usman?
not necessarily saying that.
I've just been watching him train with Chris Weidman on his YouTube channel, and it doesn't look like he's been working as much wrestling lately. No. Stephen Thompson.
He's only giving Chris Weidman needs a bit of confidence. He's only giving him back a bit of confidence. He's only playing around with him. But, do you know, it'd be interesting. We talked about earlier about the yardstick for kind of greatness, and I suppose that's one of them for Neal this weekend. But if Khamzat fights Leon Edwards, like which does more for you in terms of like the fans, like even in maybe in the UK and Ireland and stuff where we know maybe Leon Edwards a little bit better, it's different, but like which does more for you, a win over Wonderboy or a win over Edwards? Like I'd argue it's still Wonderboy. People know Wonderboy better. They know how tricky he is. They know how good of a fighter he is. Like maybe it's terms of if Khamzat beats Leon Edwards, then maybe he'll fight a Wonderboy if Wonderboy wins this weekend or something like that. But yeah,
Do you think because the matchup with Leon Edwards, I think people have a lot of questions like, what would happen if Khamzat goes up against another guy who's an elite grappler, and can he hang in there? Whereas with Wonderboy, it's like, Wonderboy just didn't wrestle this camp.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting, it's a tough one. Like, what are they going to do with Masvidal? Like, who's Masvidal going to fight? Like, it looks like
fight Covington. Do you still want to see that Covington fight or?
Absolutely not. Like, why would you want to see Masvidal lose again in another, he's going in a destruction. Like he's going to get destroyed again.
Do you just do him and Nick Diaz or something like that, do you reckon?
Yeah. Or him, well, he'd probably get destroyed by Wonderboy as well. But like him versus Wonderboy is probably, a more even fight now than it was 2 years ago when Wonderboy destroyed him. But like, yeah, him versus Nick Diaz, him versus Nate Diaz again would be not a bad fight at all. Like, you got something with Masvidal for a while, and like, where's he been? All I've heard from him is fucking Trump tweets for the last 6 months. Like, what has he been doing? Like, now was the time, especially for him and his management. Fair enough for the UFC, they move on, and we always see that. But where has Masvidal been for the last 6 months? Like, this is the time he's getting on in his career as well. He finally got, a big contract, and he finally got a lot of money, and he finally got a lot of clout. Now's the time he should be fighting. He should be fighting. He should be getting big names in there. He should be fighting that, the two Diaz brothers. He should be trying to fight McGregor, whoever it might be, to get that big money. Now is the time to strike for Masvidal, and he's just gone missing. It makes no sense to me at all. So, I don't know. That welterweight division is very weird because Edwards has just been sitting around for so long, doing nothing. It looks like Usman and Burns are going to fight, but that was kind of put off for another while again, wasn't it? Covington and Masvidal, is that going to happen? If it does, you're probably just going to see Covington win again. And I'd love to see Usman versus Covington again, but that's probably going to be a while down the line. Then you have Tyron Woodley, ranked number 6. I don't know how he's fucking still there. Damian Maia, number 7. Michael Chiesa, who'd want to see him fighting anyone? Neil Magny, Neil Magny's a really good fighter, but like, is Neil Magny ever going to be a champion? Absolutely not. Like, Vicente Luque got destroyed by Wonderboy. Geoff Neal could be good. Pettis, fucking lightweight. Bilal Mohammed got COVID. Robbie Lawler, he was good 30 years ago. And Khamzat, he's brilliant coming through. Maybe he's the guy. So I just stopped ruining everything.
This is a roast. This isn't a breakdown. This is a roast.
I didn't know we were going to get Jeff Ross on the show to preview the card. Hey, I was going to say it's funny as well because it's one of those divisions too where people kind of, like casual fans and people that don't really follow the sport, they don't even really know who the champion is. And then when you look at the Gilbert Burns Kamaru Usman fight, that's like a really fun fight because you don't really know what's going to happen there when you look at it. But it's not exactly the biggest draw either. So it's funny how like through the middle of the division you have some of the bigger, more interesting fights, but they're not really for the title. It's an interesting division.
Yeah, thank God Saint McGregor's coming back to save us here. That's all we need.
Saint McGregor.
Boring,
miracle show.
I don't think anyone's referred to him as Saint McGregor in a long time.
It's the Conor McGregor fight.
I tell you what, man. You know what? Okay, since you bring it up, just quickly, does this feel like, in a way, just another fight to you? Like, this doesn't have that same magnitude of another Conor McGregor fight. I know we're obviously not in fight week, and that's where things get, turned up. But there's just something about this fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very excited about it. But there's been sort of this theory and notion that for a long time, the UFC kind of wanted Conor to be just another guy, where they wanted to maybe, clip his wings a little bit. He had a little bit too much power. He was going off and doing things, and they would rather him just be kind of, fall in line. And I don't know, there's just something about this fight. I'm not saying they're not promoting it. They will turn up the dial. But I don't know, just doesn't feel as crazy. Do you get that vibe, Sean?
Yeah, myself and Graham had a bit of a discussion about this in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and like the conclusion I kind of think we both came to, although they've always been doing that as you mentioned, but after McGregor released those DMs from Dana White, you know, if they were going to kind of get on the right side of it, the UFC, especially around now, I, you know, I think those DMs and McGregor kind of putting those out kind of, you know, stopped them from doing that. I don't think Dana White is totally behind this fight or behind McGregor fighting without the guarantee of fans and without the guarantee of a huge get. Like, that's the reason he hasn't been fighting for the last year. Like, sometimes people, like, love to not believe what McGregor says, but, like, when McGregor says he wants to fight, he almost always wants to fight. You know, whether it's the RDA fight that time or the Frank Yeager fight or whichever fight it might be, he's always wanted those fights, and it's something else that's happened and it's not him that stopped those fights from happening. Like, McGregor wanted to do a season in 2020. You know, he wanted to get back, and he wanted just another fight. Like he said, Diego Sanchez. You know, and he just wanted to get in there, and he wanted to have 2 or 3 fights, and then he wanted to fight Khabib again. He wanted to get back, like, because if you look at the McGregor, I know I put it out there, in 11 months he had those fights against Aldo, 2 against Diaz, and the championship fight against Eddie Alvarez. 4 fights, 3 weight classes, 2 belts in 11 months. Like, that's when you see the best Conor McGregor, and I think McGregor knows that. And I think he wanted to get that by getting into, you know, these big fights.
He wanted to kind of look at it from more of a boxing perspective, which is what people don't understand in MMA, which is, like, unfortunately in boxing, like, he had Anthony Joshua fight the other weekend. No one even knew it was happening, but he fought, and it was a terrible fight, and it was boring, but he won. And you get that in boxing, where a guy will fight a world champion in a big fight, and then he'll fight an absolute nobody like a month later. Just to keep himself warm and just to keep himself accurate, so that when he fights the next guy, he's ready for it. And that's a real thing. Warm-up fights. It happens all the time.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because we always say it as well, like, earn your way back to the title. You gotta stay active.
You can't just leave a ring and then just not come back until the next big fight. That's an MMA thing. That's not a combat thing. People don't understand it for some reason.
And the other thing that people don't understand is Poirier isn't that. You know, Poirier absolutely is not that. I was talking to my friends about it the other day, and they were like, he already beat Poirier. You know, he knocked him out in a round, and it's not for a belt. Who cares? We're not even going to watch it. But this is absolutely a real fight. With Khabib gone, is there a tougher fight in that division? Like, maybe you could argue Gaethje. Maybe you could argue, well, not Tony Ferguson anymore probably, but, you know, maybe you could argue 1 or 2 other guys, but not many. You know, not many at all. Poirier coming up from 145 is a different prospect. He's improved so much as well. So it's one of those fights where, like, does it feel like just another McGregor fight or just another fight? I don't think so. I'd be lying if I said it would. It does feel a little bit special not already, I think. By the time it gets there, it'll obviously have cranked up again. But, you know, the fact that it isn't the mad Khabib fight and the madness we had around that, and the belt isn't on the line, it's more of the next step from McGregor back there than anything else now, unless the belt is on the line, which it could be. But I don't know, I suppose we'll find out. It's weird to say anything in this lightweight division with Khabib the way he is at the moment, because, like, is it a hashtag MMA retirement or is it an MMA retirement? Like, and he's actually retired. Who knows? Once we find that out, I suppose we can go from there with it.
We'll get your prediction for this fight in a second, but you were mentioning things on the line. Don't put your manhood on the line by using a rusty old shaver or a knife to shave your balls. Oh, look at that. Sean with the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. Show us the LED light, Sean. Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Look at that.
It's unreal.
It's like a ship in the middle of the night, just docking in the dock with this sweet light. Waterproof. Yeah, there you go. It swims. It shaves whatever you... Sean just killed his... No, it won't cut you. I've used it many times. And if you want balls as smooth as eggshells, you can do that. You can be Dave Chappelle, go to the beach, look for ball suckers, and have a great summer here in Australia or wherever you are around the world. Look at that. That's the Shed travel bag. You can put all your Manscaped goodies in there. Use the code submission, and you get 20% off. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Yeah, man. Listen, sometimes people go, well, do you want to go smooth on the balls? Go the length that you want, man. Just make sure you're not, David Letterman beard down there. Make sure that the ladies can do something with your tool package, and Manscaped is the way to do it. 20% off and free shipping. Listen, sometimes you give your friend a gift. You find a packet of biscuits out of the cupboard and you just wrap it because you forget to get him a gift that he can really use. Why don't get some Manscaped action into his life? And the next time when you do a roll with him and you go north-south, You don't get a bunch of hair in your mouth and that disgusting smell in your nose. Manscaped.com, code word submission, 20% off, free shipping, perfect Christmas present. Get it now.
That's right. Here to do jiu-jitsu, not floss your teeth. While you're browsing the internet and doing your Christmas shopping, there's a lot of deals that are only accessible to certain parts of the world. What if you could change your region? What if you lived in Australia, but you can make the internet think that you live in America or Kazakhstan or Bulgaria or wherever the deals are? You can with a VPN, and you can do it safely. Do it with Pure VPN, who have got a crazy holiday deal at the moment. 88% off. They're practically giving it away for free. It's $1.32 a month if you sign up for 5 years. You want to do a 1-year plan? No worries. You can do it. You can do it monthly even. They've got a lot of deals, and all of them are accessible with the code submission, which gives you another 10% off. It's crazy, isn't it, Dennis?
It's crazy savings, man. And listen, if you want to watch an up-to-date Neighbours episode, or how about some home and away you've been missing out, jump into the Australian region today with PureVPN. That's purevpn.com/submission. Use the code word submission. Get that extra 10% off. But Sean, let's talk about the fight just quickly, because we brought it up, and I'm very curious to find out from you. I mean, we were talking about this with Danny Hook yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that no build-up, no crowd. Man, this could be a real advantage for a guy like Dustin Poirier.
But there might be a crowd. Dana says there might be a crowd. Yet to see.
There could be a crowd. There could be a crowd. There could not be a crowd. How much do you think a lack of a crowd or a lack of a media week sort of plays into Dustin sort of performing better in this fight? And also with Conor McGregor sort of giving money towards his charity, and sort of it almost seems like a little bit buddy between him and Conor. How much do you think that's going to affect the fight as well?
It's an interesting one, because like the exact same thing happened with Cerrone. Pure buddy shook hands with him before the fight happened, and then he came out and he shouldered him right in the nose and broke his nose within like 5 seconds. Came out and threw that big left hand immediately, a big knockout blow. Like McGregor was talking about maybe getting rounds in and stuff, and after like 1 second, he comes out and throws the big left hand. Like, okay, is he lulling him into a bit of a false sense of security like he did with Cowboy as well? I don't know. The weird thing is, right, we talk about fighting in with no crowd and everything like that. I don't know how much it affects any of these guys. Like, have you watched the fight and thought, oh, if there was a crowd there, it would have been different? I haven't really.
Man, like Dan Hooker was on here yesterday, and he was saying that he thinks it's a massive, massive difference. He was saying, like, Tony Ferguson. Would you say idiot? Heel Sheehan.
No, I said really.
I thought you said idiot. I thought you were just like, I'm having none of it. His theory was, for example, Tony Ferguson is a crowd fighter. He feeds off the crowd, and he said that Charles Oliveira has very often not lived up to the part, and he's kind of broken in those big fights. So he thinks the crowd played a major factor. He compared it to guys who are awesome in the gym, in sparring, but then when it comes to an in-club tournament or going in live fighting, they crumble because they can't handle that pressure. And he comparing the Poirier fight with no crowd to, say, the Felder fight with a massive crowd in his hometown. He said the pressure is incomparable. But you're not buying it. You don't think it makes any difference?
Well, no. I don't know.
Set you up for failure there. What an asshole I am.
He's only an idiot, that guy. But like, the thing about it for me is, right, okay, some people, like, I think the crowd can play a difference. Like, I always talk to Graham. Graham does the documentary with McGregor, and he always, like, he'd be in like the dressing room with them before, and he'd be talking about fighters who are like fucking shitting it before they go out, and are like, they see the big lights and they can't take it. And like, there is definitely a part of that, all right. But like, I feel like maybe they're for now you can perform better. You can perform maybe closer to your optimum when there is no crowd. You can perform like these guys spar all the time in situations like this where there might be 10 people watching or whatever in the crowd, and your teammates or whatever, and then your coach watching on. Like, I'm not a fighter. I've never been in there, and it's obviously going to be a little bit different. Like, that's the only thing I can think of that maybe it'll turn into a little bit of a sparring session. Like for Tony at the weekend, Tony's a different one now, because Tony is a weirdo, as like we all know, and he probably admitted it himself. So Tony's probably like coming out with his fucking crystals and trying to like get the energy from the crowd into his hands, and then he drops them and it's in his body, and he's like, you wouldn't know with fucking Tony, but
he's like Goku with the spirit bomb. Earth, give me your energy, but there's no crowd, no energy.
And I think even like Robert Whittaker, and I think Dustin and a few fighters like, yeah, we prefer it not being a crowd. So maybe for some of these guys, yeah, it's a little bit like, hey, less pressure, less media week, and we prefer it. But do you think that's the case for Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor seems to me like the kind of guy that wants a crowd, that needs a crowd, and that feeds off a crowd. No?
I don't know about needs a crowd. Like, I think not everyone is used to the crowd. But everyone is used to not having a crowd, if you know what I mean. Like, most of these guys coming up have fought in front of no one, and all of them have sparred in the gym with no one there. So they're all used to that. Not everyone is used to, fucking poor Diego Brandao in Dublin with 10,000 Irish people roaring at him, calling him every name under fucking sun as he walks out. Or, Stipe Miocic over in Brazil, whoever might. Like, that rises some people up, and that makes other people fall down.
Dude, Conor's going to be in Khabib territory. It's going to be an interesting dynamic.
It's more than harming McGregor, I think it'll benefit Poirier, because we saw in the first fight McGregor was able to get into his head a little bit, and he fought a little bit differently because of the Irish crowd and stuff like that. So he won't have that. So it'll be a tougher fight for McGregor in that way. I think for McGregor himself, I'm sure he'll come out afterwards and say, I wish my fans were here, and everyone wishes the fans were there, and for their pocket as well as anything else. But I don't think it'll affect him, to be honest. Like, I think sometimes we forget, right? And with Conor McGregor, it's never been more evident. He's a great showman. He's, love him or fucking loathe him, which a lot of people do. He is a great technical fighter under it all, and I think McGregor being able to like concentrate more on his technique and be in the fight, which he's great at doing anyway, I think that might benefit him, because we can all talk about him being a showman and the crowd being behind him and the crowd spurring him on and all, but the crowd don't win McGregor the fights. No, McGregor wins the fights himself. Maybe because there's such like high, thought put into McGregor and lots of opinion put into McGregor. We get away from the fact that he is a really, really, really good fighter. And I think him being able to kind of have his thoughts with him more than anything else will help him, and I think it'll help Poirier too. So we're in for a great fight. I think it'll be fantastic.
So prediction wise, you thinking another McGregor win here?
I don't know yet. No. I don't know. I don't know my prediction
I love
yet.
This after all of that. After all that, he'll lose.
I probably will go for McGregor, but I'll give my official prediction in January
on the Patreon, of course, Sean.
Oh my
Probably,
goodness!
Exactly.
Let me tell you this though, man. Also for McGregor, not bad. Dustin Poirier is not going to be coming out there saying anything about his personal life or any of the mistakes he's made.
He's not calling his wife a 4 and then throwing stuff at Dillon Danis. That's not happening.
That's right.
And that Dillon Danis thing, oh my God. Did you see Luke Thomas tweeted? Oh, that's in front of the studio where they do the fucking Brennan
Food Truck Diaries, yeah,
that rubbish. He was like, oh, he must have caught. Luke Thomas's words were, he must have caught wind of it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure he caught wind of it. When they rang him up and goes, here, Dillon Danis is going to be here. Dillon knows about it. You come along, you throw a water balloon at him. We just happen to have a camera crew there as well. And it's going to be all well and good. Fucking the most set up thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. What a load of bullshit. I hate this Jake Paul thing. I was delighted when the Logan Paul Mayweather fight was announced, because it was like, it's away from MMA. I don't need to care about it. I can stay out of it. This McGregor thing, just like leave me. Please don't let it happen. I do not want to deal with it. We had the fucking McGregor Mayweather thing for long enough. It was a nightmare. I absolutely hated it, and I hope this doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't happen. Or if it does, have it on like the undercard of an actual McGregor fight, so he can just beat Jake Paul in like 7 seconds, and then go and have another fight, and then we just won't have to listen to it anymore. Or just like go to his gym and beat the shit out of him and just be done with it or something. Like, I just don't want it 6 months of this. That's what I don't want.
Dude, boxing in 2020 consists of Mark Hunt losing yesterday to a retired NRL player in a boxing match. And now Logan Paul fighting Floyd Mayweather. And who knows what Jake Paul's going to do, because he's got a big draw behind him so far out. Who knows? Maybe it'll be him and Dillon Danis or him and Ben Askren, or who even knows. But for now, guys, follow the man at Sean Sheehan, BA, of course, Severe MMA, one of the best shows out there. Make sure to subscribe to the Patreon. A lot of really good stuff coming out. Of course, with this McGregor fight around the corner. Get that official prediction through the Patreon now, and make sure to follow Sean for all of his latest news, tweets. Always a hilarious follow on the Twitter. Sean, thank you so much, sir. Have a great holiday. We love that sweater, but I think it's time for a haircut.
I'll get one tomorrow. Be grand. Thanks for having me, lads.